According to the International Labour Organization, as of 2016, there are an estimated 40.3 million people in modern slavery. 1 in 4 of these victims are children. It has been said that there are more enslaved people right now in the world than any other point in history. This modern slavery, also known as human trafficking, can take 2 forms: either forced labor or commercial sex acts, both often implemented by deceit and coercion. While trafficking is a worldwide problem, I'd like to mainly focus on its existence in Southeast Asia and the experience I had when I traveled to the area and saw the reality firsthand. It is estimated that of the millions of people who are victims of human trafficking, 2/3 of them come from Asia. Some main contributing factors to this are weak government, often characterized by corruption, high levels of poverty, and many unskilled labor forces. The most notorious cases of trafficking come from North Korea, Thailand, Malaysia, and China. Many of the victims in these countries are women, a large number of which are under the age of 18. These girls are often told they're being employed as waitresses in restaurants, but in reality they get trapped into working as sex workers for either tourists or local men. In countries such as Cambodia and Thailand, there are bars called KTVs, karaoke television bars, which serve as a front for the sales of sexual services. Men can come to these places and choose any of the girls presented, and pay to take them off the property and do as they wish. Now, you may ask how girls can stay in these situations once they find out what's going on. A main reason that keeps them in the industry is poverty. The girls need to work to be able to send money home to their families, so they often feel they have no choice but to stay in these conditions and sell their bodies. In addition, much of the Asian culture follows the religion of Buddhism, which teaches that children are in debt to their parents for their existence. Buddhists believe that it is a child's responsibility to provide for their parents, whatever the cost. Culturally, people in Asian countries grow up focusing on day-to-day life and not taught to dream or think of the future. They're taught to do what they can to get by for the present, not think about what one day could happen. Another big factor that keeps girls in the commercial sex industry is the shame they feel at letting themselves be used, especially if they are tricked into the situation. Even if they're presented with the opportunity to leave, many of the victims believe they deserve the shame they feel and are to blame for the path of their lives. I was fortunate enough to get the opportunity last summer to travel to Cambodia and Thailand to meet girls that have been rescued from trafficking and to hear some of their stories firsthand. The organization I partnered with, Destiny Rescue, works to rescue young girls from trafficking to then rehabilitate and restore them. In addition to sharing the gospel with the girls, Destiny Rescue also teaches them vocational skills so they don't have to find themselves in the same position again. Not only did my team and I visit the rescue homes where the girls are taken care of, but we also saw the harsh reality of the places they were rescued from. It was one of the most surreal experiences I've ever had to walk down a street in Thailand that was lined with walls of girls in front of businesses trying to draw in customers. Never have I felt that kind of darkness in one area. It was like walking through a nightmare. If you made eye contact with any of the girls, you could see the emptiness behind their eyes and how they've had their humanity stripped away. Still, to this day, my mind doesn't fully comprehend that the rescued girls I interacted with were once in such horrible places. The girls in the rescue home were so full of love and made us feel very welcomed and cared for. We played games, sang songs, and it was almost hard to remember their past when they were so joyful in front of us. After experiencing all of these things overseas, I felt a strong need to advocate for justice on behalf of the girls who had not been lucky enough to be rescued yet. Not only is justice in this area an ethical obligation for any human being, but also as Christians we are called to care for those who cannot care for themselves. In the book of Matthew, specifically chapter 25, verse 40, Jesus calls us to care for the least of these. And additionally, as written in the book of Isaiah, part of our call in spreading the gospel is to not only bring the good news to all nations, but also proclaim freedom for the captives and set prisoners free from darkness. While this doesn't mean we all need to drop everything and get on a plane, there are ways we can join the fight from right where we are. Consider supporting the organizations that are on the ground doing the hard work. Every month, I set aside a small portion of money that goes to supporting one of the rescue homes I visited in Cambodia, helping to provide the staff there with the ability to better care for all the girls that come into their home. In addition to this, learn about how human trafficking is all around us in the United States. While I engaged with many young girls who were victims, there are also many adults, both men and women, who are trapped in modern-day slavery. Educate yourself on political policy changes that might provide an upper hand for perpetrators, and be sure to vote against them. A huge way that victims are being targeted these days is through social media, whether by internet scams or people posing as someone they aren't. We brought our country out of slavery once years ago. Just because this epidemic is much more nuanced, it should not be allowed to continue to thrive in the darkness. Out of the great number of victims trapped in human trafficking worldwide, about 4.8 million are forced into sexual exploitation. As Christians, we should not feel comfortable to rest until we do all that we can to bring justice to those in the darkness and provide a voice to those who have had their voices silenced. It is only then that we can rest, knowing that we have cared for God's people in the way He intended for us to go out and do. I'd like to leave you with this quote by Benjamin Franklin. "Justice will not be served until those who are unaffected are as outraged as those who are." Thank you.